Ah, fun. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at Two Us's. I believe the translation stems from When the First Meeting Doesn't Go as Planned. It's kind of the translated version of that, dance practice fixed version. Very excited about this because I have seen their work, pretty much all their work so far. I mean, of course, there's only been one other dance practice that they've had, and that was Oh My My by 7S. And I've seen the prologue, and I've seen more of that short film. I have not heard this song, and I do know they have a performance version of this, so maybe I'll make that as a separate video or tack it on to the end of this one. I don't quite know. Reason being is because YouTube does not like it when I do fixed versions and I add on that performance video. It's happened twice now where it's blocked the video, so we're gonna probably just keep it in isolation. But all that to say, pretty excited about this. I'm very familiar with their movement quality at this point, but of course I like to get settled in 2 to 3 dance practices before I really know a group's just overall aesthetic and fingerprints and essence. So I think without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and take a watch and check it out. Fun. Nice. Nice. Ah, fun. Really fun. But wait. And the little at the end, that was really, really fun. I enjoyed that a lot. And you know what's really funny about this is in my recording schedule today, literally the one I just finished reacting to was Lucifer by Shiny. And so many things that I was mentioning there, I'm just seeing the exact, like, this movement is so full. I tell you what, man. Wow. Okay. Here we go from the top. I like that little accent boom right there in the front. Now knowing what they did just at the tail end, seeing that in the beginning, a really nice Easter egg effect there. Sliding through, boom. Using their range on this is so freaking full. I do think we're already seeing more refinement in their movement quality, because one note that I gave, I think during their first one, was there's not so much jam-packed, but there's so much fullness jam-packed that it kind of felt like we had a lot of information that we had to kind of dive through, versus letting that information be properly distributed throughout the routine. Just like in an essay, you don't want to jam-pack it with just information. You want it to be digestible, right? In phrasing, in the language that you use. And so in this case here, that's something I think I'm seeing significantly more progress in that regard. Does that kind of make sense? So I'm very much a fan of that. Now, usage of the levels is so nice here. Using the range and then going from high to low is really, really nice to see. And then even that movement right there, having that build up, then having the formation expand and then contract and come closer. Then right there, that whirl, that hinge went really well on that sound. Boomerang is what that feels like. Then right there, having your feature right there in the middle, bring his arm up, allowing the response, then having this teeter-tottering leveled effect is super dope. Then him doing a freaking swipe across the floor, and their airtime is very, very impressive of just the quickness of seeing that. Very clear, but a lot going on, but very clear. And I love seeing that here. And having the little jumps there, the swipe initiating the first jump, but then the next jump balancing it out to both sides. Then right there, having our two with the forearms glued together and then having the other two with their hands placed. I like that. Really great way to open it up. Also, this was a nice little peekaboo effect, of course, having one of your guys here. You do have somebody directly behind. That's the downside of having an even number and you have 1-point features, is you have to be more creative in your structure of your formations. And that's where you get some of those cases, like what you're seeing, somebody directly behind somebody else. Not really a big issue, unless that's your bias. Then I would assume you're like, oh, I want to see them. But because it's so fast-paced, you're not even really going to have that much time to really think that through, because your feature is right here, and that's who you should be focusing on in that moment. But I like this choice of not even catching them doing that until they did the reveal of the visual. So that was really nice on the choreographer's front on figuring that out, but also the dancers as well. Yeah, fun, da-da-da, and then having this right here. Yeah, dee-dee-dee-dee. I feel like this is kind of our fingerprint trend in the sparkling blue era for them, because they do use this in the Oma Mai 7s, right? And then we're just seeing this used throughout as like just a position, which is cool. Could be a wordplay thing, but then also throwing that down, it kind of feels like there's our little fingerprint from the Oma, right? So, and so it's nice to see this here where that, regardless if that was a fingerprint or not, that it's how it clocks to me, and it's still really nice to see. Then having it down, bringing it over the syncopation, then they groove it around, decide to neutralize it right there, boom, boom, boom. And then once again, we have this little part right there. Now everybody's looking except for your feature. That's a really great intentional thing. And for me, that's definitely one of my favorite things about Shiny that I'm looking at right now. I'm still very in the early era of Shiny right now on a choreographic front, but something that I love what they're doing is their intention with their head. I love it. And so that's something I'm naturally more inclined to look for in choreo. And so it's nice whenever we see the head represented or people being intentional with where they're looking. It does matter because it helps influence your audience and where you want them to look to. Now that right there, bum, 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 really like that. It's very fun. Nice and symmetrical. You notice that it's balanced because you have 3 and 3. You have them facing the front. You have them facing the back. They have more of an extroversion perspective projecting forward. They are recognizing that we are in front, so they're showcasing movement, but they are moving towards the back. So that I do like. It's just fun. And it's great usage of staging in space. Ding, ding, ding. I like that where it's riding off of the tone even though they're not the one singing. Love that. They're pushing it away. Pushes them to promote to something a little different, and they create a nice little moment, has him branch through. Really fun. Yeah, ding, 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 bomb. Really nice. It says, let's go. Very Huddle-esque, communal. Nice little march. It does feel a very like childlike kind of transition, which is fun. It definitely tailors to the type of concept they're going for, which is really, really nice. Definitely feels their age, which I like and appreciate. Boom, bum, bum, bum. I really like. I think they do it twice. Yeah, they ended up doing that only twice, but it's nice having, you know, somebody right there. And then having it framed once again as a nice little fingerprint from what you just saw, and then branching more towards the front. You got that, ooh, very fun to see. Yep, and then of course this right here with the little grabs, it does remind you a lot of how they set up that little oval formation with the arms. So I like that little intention here, and I like that they're looking at each other. It's fun. It's just like, it's fun. Part of me wonders like what it would feel like for them to have to do this song, but they just got in a fight. That's the kind of track it gives me of like, oh man, they have to be like, oh, I have to look like I really, really like you right now, but you made me mad, you know? But in this case, it does feel like they're in a good headspace. I like that little dig, boom. Notice how he goes towards the front, but then having the framing go towards the outside, it just makes it feel balanced. I love it. And then we have people go up, whoa, really nice in that. Nice little snap to snap it back into a different formation. Then I like the fact that he's dropped to the floor. They're all here. Nice little salute. Has a nice little march. Bah, bah, bah. And then he goes dun, dun, dun. So he's very full on the side, but he's not doing too much or too little that takes away from what's going on with the other dancers, which is really nice. They're framing it great. Then bum, bum, dun, dun. So they're allowing patience, but also fullness within the sound. They're pausing when needed. And it is different than, you know, whenever you see people who are really still and stiff. In this case, you notice because they're allowing so much usage of the body to help create fullness of all of the moves. That's why when they're still, it doesn't feel like we are having as much dead space. So I think that's great on the choreographer's side. And that was nice too with the little head nod. Instead of hitting it over to the side or to the back, they chose to hit it right here on the front. So that was a nice, slightly different way of how I would normally see that. And right there, boom, right here, and then nice little kicks. Kicking it through, and then right there, having this arm out and then having this one drop down. That was a really nice moment with the switches. This is a nice polyrhythm that you're kind of seeing, but it's complementary, so maybe it's not really a polyrhythm, but it is. You are multitasking because you are going more linear side to side, and you're doing 3 points here, and this is like more like a fixed point. You want to make sure it stays where it needs to. Like the framing right here, having your guy in the center. Right there, bump, bump, and then of course, once again, with that little number 7. Yeah, da 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 da. Really nice that we hit that. Do 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 do. Great feature moment. That little, and then right here, boom. Really nice little Michael influence there. Waving it through that little boom boom. There's that 7 again. And then you also see him trace it out. Boom boom. Have another little accent there with some popping. A little waving of the hands, a little basket run, but the basket run was short-lived for me. I am more sensitive to the basket runs, and it just it honestly depends on your time frame and who you're working with and that kind of stuff. And just finding more creative ways to move through your basket runs. It's something that, here's the thing, I empathize with that. I'm preaching to the choir on that. Sometimes it's just easier to do just a clean basket run to a spot. It's effective in getting you somewhere quickly. But especially like when you look at mega crews, and this is not a mega crew, but when you look at groups where a big portion of a transition is a basket run, figuring out a way to innovate it in some way always really helps. But because you notice how short that basket run was, I think it was totally appropriate to make it just simple because it only took about not even 2 counts. So I love that. Going right there into the diagonal, and then of course we have a little digging up of the energy, and then we bring it through. Love that boom. I love that action there, which is nice. That boom, boom, boom. Really like that with the switches. Notice there's even a little break of the wrist. Really like seeing that energy there with the switch. They're like, wow, love that choice too. That little ding, ding. That was fun to see too. Yeah, boom, boom, very syncopated, but also it wrote a very particular interruption type of the music. They hit it well, had really nice accents happening over in stage right. Yeah, oh, it was everybody. Doo-doo. And they kind of not reverb, but they kind of accented or rebounded up. So that was cool. They said hello, and then look at the levels. Whee! And then having it ready to go here and here. Really nice to see. Oh, so they're talking. Love that. And there, having that little accent, boom, the accent happening in the front, triggering what goes on the side. This was really, really fun. I love that. That was cool. Really cool. And then having them kind of match, switching it through. Super great reveal. I really like this verse a lot. A little boom, 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 then boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and I feel like, were they doing different characters? I think. You let me know what they were supposed to spell. That was really fun. Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's your little 7 note right there. I love how he shot that out with the heels. That was a really nice extroverted accent moment, and then he was able to bring it in nice and easy. Yeah, really fun. I love the jump up. It's really fun to see. Oh, set, hana, got it. 3, 2, 1. And there's that snap again, but then it had us be able to feature and see him well. Now, this is a great example. That's a very creative choice for having an even number group. I love it. One person's a little bit lower, one person's a little bit higher. Here's your feature, and then you have your levels represented. This is a great depth-based formation than having hits about at half. That's really fun. Yeah, dun, 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 dun. So it definitely has that like childlike wonder vibe about it, but very, very full in movement, not easy movement. Definitely on the advanced in terms of physicality. But I would say in some of the movement sequences, I think it depends on what section, because when you look at the timing and how quick they have to get from point A to point B of a move, that can also influence a complexity or difficulty too. So for this, it may just be depending on the section. Their courses do teeter more towards that intermediate side, but most courses do, because a lot of times now we're in the era of the challenges where people or groups really do appreciate and value making these challenges, and that's absolutely fine. You know, that's the name of the game nowadays. And there you can find beauty in that for sure. So it makes sense why it's not like astronomically difficult, but you also have to look at where your movement is to your music, how polyrhythmic it is. So how much of your sound are you justifying? Are you just rocking on one part of the music, or are you just trying to justify three? Because that determines more multitasking required of your body, regardless of how easy it looks. Do you see how many components are just a part of what makes a move difficult or not? And also, as you think about the BPM, how many complex movements per beats per minute can determine the overall difficulty of the routine, especially when you factor in stability checks, or whether or not you have to just go from one side to another, or the practicality of the sequence that you're given too. There's so many facets to determine difficulty, but in this case, this definitely would be more exhausting to do than I would say more of an isolated type of routine. But it still demands a great sense of physical demand. But this kind of stuff is really nice. D. I really like that choice too. It's just clean. Now having it, notice instead of having them more in that diagonal or in that like that group of 5 with the person that was lower, they have it framed out. So where you still have those same people doing it, but it's a different feature in a different spot. So it makes it look different. For me, it feels very, not cost effective, but choreographically effective, because you don't want to like overload information and you want it all to just vibe and be cohesive. And so sometimes there's so much beauty in using the same content that you did in the first course, but changing the formation or the levels to make it look slightly different, but still make it just as cohesive as you saw the first time. Because it's the same choreo right there. Yep, instead of everybody doing it, you just have one guy, and then you have them kind of go over, having a nice little branching moment. Now, some of them are looking front, and some of them are looking over to the side. That would honestly be something that I would want to clarify. Where do you want me to see you looking? Would be a good question. But then you see them there, they're like, he had a conversation with them, so that was really nice. A lot of that boom, that was a really fun choice too. Dun 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 dun. That was a really cool choice too. Yep, and little dig, dee. That was a good moment there. Yep, that little dee. Very good to see that too. Cabbing it through. That right there, it's just, this feels very, this feels more social in this event, because a lot of the movements that they're hitting, dun 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 dun, it just feels very like conga line. It kind of gives off that energy, and I love that. This was fun. Dune, switch, doom. So I like the choice with this, kind of the common denominator in this choreography. Shout out to the choreographer for it. I love the dip, doom, dip. Like, I love that choice of having something sporadic, but then having breath built in the movement. I love that because, like I've said before, it's digestible. It allows me time to breathe with them, and it helps me enjoy that part of the music in the way they wanted me to feel it. And I love that. With the claps, love that through. And I love this choice. Instead of just doing a little wave, they freaking jump it. That's fun. And then he grabs on the tail end, they come up, boom. He goes, wait. He goes through, ding. That's a fun little natural kind of conversational transition, which I really liked. That was fun. Yep. Dee. Really fun. That was fun too. Da. So that groove was really nice to see. I'm curious. What kind of glide was it? So notice that one of the feet went more of a heel toe, and they kind of dug it through from the ball of the foot to the heel. Dee, da. Very much like that choice too. Nice little ta. I'm definitely a fan of that for sure. Dee. And they go, pew, 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 right here to the third one. They kind of grab a little the flatness of that, and then they expand it back out. Appreciate that. Now here you do notice, doesn't feel as, what's the word? It does feel like two triangles kind of overlapping because you have in your center these two guys right here. And also notice one of our guys does have his face covered. So I am curious if this was the intention or if everyone's allowed to make kind of their own independent concessions, because notice not everybody's doing the exact same thing. I would say these three are. He's doing it more towards the front. He's doing it a little bit more angled down, and he's not really doing it as much. He's kind of just throwing his hands in whatever position, but it doesn't really bother me as much. It is nice to see. Ding! It's just fun. Definitely feels very, what's the word? It feels communal. It feels conversational. And then right here, they finish. Dramatic for me. I call this the dramatic, you know? It's fun though, but I understand it because we saw it in the very beginning, and I'm glad I caught that when I did. So in general, do I like this? Yes, I do. I think it's fun. Definitely when it comes to just the song, here's the thing. Don't really quite know the lyrics. That's okay. I do feel, though, we do have a lot of like wordplay, some imagery in here. I am very much a fan of seeing, you know, them look like they actually enjoy being around each other. It does give off that energy too, and it feels like they're letting me in on their childlike wonder exploration, which makes it very inspiring and fun for someone like myself who does take a very analytical approach to a lot of things that I do in my day-to-day. It's really nice to kind of feel this kind of breath almost, you know? So this gets a double thumbs up for me. I think 2US has a fantastic start, especially for rookies. They're definitely up there on the synchronicity. Love seeing that. And yes, of course, I know a lot of people kind of were expecting that because they come from Pleiades, and they are, even though of course they're in high. Pleiades 17 is more of their sunbays, and so 17 is known definitely for their synchronicity and their fullness of movement. So for them, they kind of have that subconscious pressure, but they have that puppy dog energy too to really help create a lot of fullness in a lot of these choreos, which makes it really fun for all of us to see. So in general, I very much enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. If you want to see more Gen 5 reactions from me, I do have a couple groups that I did mini marathons with, ones that I didn't quite catch when they debuted, like I did with 2US. I would say, for example, right now I just finished up Kiss of Life, and I have Psychers that have not made any concessions onto YouTube quite yet. They are hanging out on Patreon. I have all of that reacted to and their music videos, which is really cool. But what's really cool is I do like being able to see 2US and their content in real time. It helps me be able to kind of see what their movement quality is now and where it's going to be in the future. It's cool to see that in that real-time format versus a marathon like what I'm doing with Shiny. That's still very fun, and I'm still having a blast with that. But it is a little different, right? Because this is 2024 content, and I'm looking at it in 2024, right? Versus looking at 2008 content in 2024. It's just different. So I'm definitely having a lot of fun with this. If you want to be a part of the journey, Patreon's great for that. But I'll be hanging out on YouTube as well with the discussions, and I'm very excited for this. Once again, I am Jess. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye!